Hello, nonprofit friends, and welcome to the second webinar in the Leadership Ready AI series, The AI Leader, What You Should Be Thinking About Now. My name is Jean Holmes with All Systems Go Consulting. I help nonprofits with fundraising, strategy, systems, and safe, ethical AI training and adoption. This short video is geared toward executive directors and board members who are feeling the pressure to do something with AI, but aren't sure where to begin. We'll explore 3 essential questions nonprofit leaders should begin asking right now, with a focus on strategic thinking, ethical responsibility, and building internal readiness. You should walk away with a better sense of what matters most and what you can ignore and what to do next. Adopting AI isn't as scary as it might seem. While the technology is transformative, implementing it can be simple. As the leaders of your organizations, there are a few things you need to think through, but you've done this kind of work before, and it isn't difficult if you use a framework. And that's what we're going to give you today, a framework of 3 things to think through so that you can safely adopt AI. Take things step by step rather than leaping into the deep end. The 3 questions nonprofit leaders should consider are, number 1, value. We want to find value in new tools, not just use them because we found a shiny new tool that looks cool. Where can AI move the mission and what's not worth it? The second question is about trust. The most important asset we have as nonprofits is trust. We need our clients, our donors, and our partners to trust us. So what rules protect privacy, equity, and reputation? And finally, readiness. Staff are already using AI, but they want to use it safely, and they want and need training. Are we set up to learn and adopt safely as a team? So first is value. Where does AI meaningfully advance our vision, our mission and strategy, and where should we not use it? There are 3 places that you can look for opportunities. Number 1, map out processes and find out where they break or stall. Number 2, use measurement to find excessive wait times or backlogs. And third, interview staff to find their pain points and frustrations. Then take that list and prioritize it using a risk versus impact matrix. You want low risk, high reward projects as your first pilots. When considering AI projects, having a decision tree can be really helpful in prioritizing or eliminating projects. Does it align with our mission and strategy? Is it low risk, high reward? Are the steps repeatable? Is it rule-based versus judgment-based? Humans should always be in charge of decisions that require judgment. And is the output consistent? If anything breaks along this decision tree, that project is probably not a good candidate for an AI project at this time. If you say yes to all these questions, assign an owner for the project, proceed with a small pilot, and measure your results. Here are some examples of situations where AI pilots might be appropriate. These are all high-value, low-risk use cases. Middle drafts of content. It's important that we don't let AI think for us, which is why I like to use it for middle drafts of content. I come up with the idea for the content, write a first draft, let AI help me polish or organize it, and then I edit the final draft. That way, I make sure I'm still the thought leader and my voice and authenticity will remain present, saving time on repetitive tasks. For instance, turning meeting notes into action items, summaries, and follow-up items. Brainstorming language or ideas. We all get that blank page problem sometimes, and while it's preferable that we try to use our own creativity first, sometimes we all need some help. There are prompting techniques that you can use with AI platforms to help pull creative ideas out of you by interviewing you. Explaining complex topics in plain language. Maybe there's a grant guidelines document that is very wordy or complex that you need to understand. Drop it into your AI platform and ask it to summarize sections for you. Turning messy notes into structured content. I love this one and use it all the time because my notes are always very messy. I take a picture of them, attach it to my prompt, and get structured notes back. Remember, as with any use case with AI, keep a human in the loop. There will be times when you need more or less oversight, but there should always be some kind of human oversight, even with low risk use cases. So, in these more advanced use cases, you definitely need more human oversight. Where there's more risk, you need more human review. You should use limited data and have a staged rollout. Don't rush into these kinds of pilots. The first example is personalized outreach at scale. So, with communications for donors or volunteers or program participants. The upside would be that you might have more relevant messaging. You might get better retention and better response rates, and your staff will save time on segmentation and drafting. But there's risks to manage, and that includes hallucinated details, a chatbot tone, and in the worst case, a reputational or brand damage. An example of this kind of use case would be a youth serving nonprofit uses AI to generate 3 tailored versions of an email invitation to lapsed donors, one for former event attendees, one for monthly donors who paused, and one for newer donors. And we're only using approved fields here in the communication, like first name, last name, and the gift date or an amount range, and maybe the last event attended, and requiring a human to approve the communications before sending. In this second example, we create a support chat to triage and navigate questions from clients on the website. The upside is that clients would get faster access to information and referrals. It can reduce staff bottlenecks, and there's 24/7 service for your clients. The key risks to manage here are that it might give the wrong guidance. There might be privacy issues with personal health information, and there could be inequitable responses. So we have to control for all of those things. An example would be housing and services nonprofit deploys a website chatbot that answers some simple questions like, do you have shelter beds tonight? What documents do I need for intake? Where is the food pantry and what are the hours? And then the chatbot routes anything personal or high stakes to a live staff callback or hotline. And in the final example, we use AI to create some public facing content for a spokesperson or spokesperson support. Think of things like press statements, policy briefs, other types of external communications. So the upside would be faster follow up, faster situational response, and efficiency, maybe a consistent tone. Again, key risks here would be inaccurate claims, legal and compliance exposure, undermining trust. So here's an example. After a local policy change affects access to programs, the nonprofit uses AI to draft a press statement, a CEO's 60-second talking point script, and an FAQ for the website, but it must cite source links internally, and the communications and legal departments must sign off before anything is published. The second question to ask yourself is about trust. We mentioned before that the number one asset nonprofits have is trust from your clients, your donors, and your partners. So, what guardrails do we need to protect privacy, equity, and public trust as we use AI? And there are 3 big areas to think about here: policy, data practices, and transparency. You want to adopt an AI policy that addresses the following questions: who can use AI for what? Who approves use cases and who's accountable? What data is prohibited? What must be reviewed by a human? What vendors or tools or software platforms are approved? Remember, your staff is already using AI. Protect your organization, your clients, your donors, and your staff who want these boundaries with clear rules. Data practices and transparency. On the left, we have some basic data governance. how we collect, store, share, minimize, and retain data. And here's the key point: AI does not create new data problems, it amplifies ones that you already have. So we translate that into two simple, nonprofit ready rules. On privacy, we don't paste sensitive client, donor, or staff information into any public AI tools. With equity, bias often enters through our inputs: historic data, incomplete data, and sloppy labels. So if our data practices are messy, our outcomes get messier. On the right, we're talking about transparency. And transparency is more than just saying we used AI. It means documentation and explainability so people can make informed choices and we can defend our decisions if we need to. I think of a transparency in these three layers. There's internal transparency. What tools are we using for what tasks, and what data touches them and who approves it? Stakeholder transparency. When and how we disclose AI assistance, especially in client facing or high stakes contexts. And decision transparency. If something affects people, we can explain the output and show that a human was accountability. The bottom line is that strong data practices plus transparency are how we keep AI use aligned with mission and keep trust intact. Here's some examples of places where we might find some transparency language. On the website, we might have a how we use AI page. We might have a footer link, or there might be information on your about page. And in any one of these places, you might talk about tasks you use AI for, what you don't use it for, data rules like no sensitive personal information goes into public tools, and human accountability and a contact for questions about AI use. And here's an example of some language that you might use on your website. We use AI tools to help draft and summarize internal documents and communications. We do not use AI to make final decisions about eligibility for services or benefits. Staff review all AI assisted work before it is used. The second place you might have some transparency language is in your program materials. If AI has helped create some educational or public facing content, low stakes informational content where AI helped draft or translate, like toolkits or handouts or training decks, blog posts. And an example of language that you can use there is: portions of this resource were drafted with AI assistance and were reviewed and edited by our staff for accuracy and tone. And third place where you might find some AI language or use it yourself is with vendors and partners. So think funders, referral partners, coalitions. And you might have some language in your MOUs or data sharing agreements. And again, here is some sample language you might use. If AI tools are used in delivering this work, we will, number one, avoid sensitive personal data in public systems. Number two, maintain human review for outputs. And number three, disclose client-facing use with a human alternative. The third question is about internal readiness. What do our people need to use AI well? The skills, expectations, and feedback without creating anxiety. At the base of this pyramid, you see trauma-informed change management. For a lot of nonprofit teams, the last few years have been nonstop change: funding pressure, staffing gaps, crisis work. So if AI gets introduced as one more thing, it can spike stress. Trauma-informed change just means predictability, clarity, and respect for capacity. We'll roll it out in manageable steps. The second layer is psychological safety. And this is the permission structure to learn. People can ask basic questions, admit confusion, report when something just feels off without being embarrassed or punished. That's how you prevent shadow AI use, where people are hiding their AI use. Next is skills and competence. Not everybody needs to be a power user, but everybody needs baseline fluency. What is AI good for? What is it bad at? How to avoid sensitive data sharing? how to sanity check outputs. The next layer is norms and workflows. And this is where leaders make AI usable. What tasks are okay? What's the review step? Where do approved prompts live? What's the definition of done before something goes out the door? Safe ways to pilot AI uses. We just talked about this. We start small and low risk. Pilots should have a clear owner, a clear goal, and a short timeline so we can learn quickly without creating chaos. And finally, approved tools. Tools come last on this slide because they only work when everything underneath is in place. Approved tools are part of readiness, but they're not the foundation. Take the stairs means we don't jump into shiny tools or big strategy decks right away. We move step by step in a way that protects our mission, protects trust, and protects our teams. So let's summarize. First, we want to evaluate the value. Before we do anything with AI, we pick 1 or 2 mission fit use cases, not 20. Then we define success in human terms: time saved, quality improved, access increased, staff burden reduced. And we start with something low risk and high reward so we learn without making anything fragile. Second, we build trust. This is where we put guardrails in place. We decide what data is off limits, what tools are approved, and what tasks require human review. And we decide how we'll be transparent internally and with stakeholders externally. Trust is not a vibe, it's rules plus accountability. Third, let's ensure that our team is ready. This is the adoption piece. We name owners and a pilot team. We set a few simple norms so people don't have to guess what's okay, what's not, and what the review step is. And we make it safe to learn. Create a feedback loop where staff can share what worked, what didn't, and where AI created risk or confusion without feeling judged. AI can draft, it can summarize, it can suggest, but humans in the end stay accountable. That's the standard that keeps this aligned with mission, ethics, and the real world nonprofit work we do. Thanks for joining me today for the AI Leader, What You Should Be Thinking About Now. My name is Jean Holmes with All Systems Go Consulting, and I offer AI training and workshops and fractional development services. If you want to keep learning with structured ethical guidance, I offer AI training and adoption plans for organizations and teams at reasonable prices. As always, I appreciate all of you nonprofiters out there making the world a better place. You are the best. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.